Okay, we are going to start looking at uh, problem solving using charts. And this is a method that we will use throughout the year at different times. And some people really love it and some people really hate it. But I think once you get the feel for it and you start to understand it, you'll find that it makes things very easy. And basically, what it does is it allows you to organize your information so that you can easily write your equation and solve your problem. And this is helpful when you have two different things that are unknown, but you're only allowed to use one variable. When we get to situations where I've taught you how to solve an equation with two variables, you don't really need to use charts as much. But when you're only allowed to use one variable and you have two or more unknowns, then you really need to be able to use a chart. Okay, so let's get started. Our first example, it says find the number of calories in an apple and in a pear. A pear contains 30 calories more than an apple. 10 apples have as many calories as 7 pears. So we've been given a bunch of information. And what we're looking for is we're looking to find the number of calories in an apple and in a pear. So this is where our unknowns are going to go because that's what we're looking for. So I'm going to give, and since I have to find both, usually what I do is if I'm looking for one specific one, that will be my variable. But in this case, we're looking for both of them. I'm just going to use A for apple. And now I have to write the number of calories per pear using the variable A. So I need to look and see what the relationship is between the calories in an apple and the calories in a pear. And right here is where I find that. A pear contains 30 calories more than an apple. So if an apple contains A calories, a pear would contain A plus 30. Okay, so those are my variables. And everything else I should be able to fill in with a number. Now, if you think about this, the number of calories per fruit times the number of fruits is going to be equal to the total calories. And most of the time, our chart problems are that sort of format. It's something times the number. It could be the number of calories times the number of fruits. It could be the number of miles times the number of gallons. It could be the cost of his t-shirt times the number of t-shirts you buy. But it's usually this times this equals a total. And one of the numbers you're multiplying has to do with the number of things that you have. The other has to do with like the value. Okay, so now we're looking at the number of fruit. And it says a pear contains 30 calories more than an apple. 10 apples have as many calories as 7 pears. So I'm going to say I have got 10 apples and 7 pears. So this many apples is going to have the same number of calories as this many pears. So the total calories here, A times 10, which is 10A, and the total calories here, which if I put that in parentheses and distribute, it's going to give me 7A plus 210. These two should be equal to each other because it says 10 apples. Here's the calories for 10 apples, has as many calories as 7 pears, and here's the calories for 7 pears. So there's my equation. And again, with these chart problems, your equation is usually going to be in the form of this equaling this, or this plus this equals another total. Okay, so those are usually the two most common formats. So let's go ahead and write our equation. 10A is equal to 7A plus 210. And filling in the chart is not something that you like memorize a process. You just have to think about it, okay? But once you get in the habit of thinking about it, it gets easier and easier. So here's my equation. 10A is equal to 7A plus 210. Both sides are simplified. I'm going to get all of my variables onto the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 7A from both sides. And I end up with 3A is equal to 210. I need A by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and A is equal to 70. Okay, so this tells me that the number of calories in an apple is 70, and the number of calories in a pear is 30 more than that, so a pear should have 100 calories. Now I can quickly check this. 10 times 70 would be 700. And 100 times 7 would be 700, so it checks. So these are my answers here. An apple has 70 calories and a pear has 100 calories. Okay, let's look at our next example. Here we have Now we're talking about protein, okay? So it's the amount of protein per egg times the number of eggs is equal to the total protein, okay? So it's a value times a number gives us a total. Okay, so an egg scrambled in butter and milk has 1 more gram of protein than an egg fried in butter. 10 scrambled eggs have as much protein as a dozen fried eggs. Write an equation to find the amount of protein in a scrambled egg. So we're looking for the amount of protein in a scrambled egg. So here's my scrambled egg, and I'm going to call this P. Okay. So I have to write the protein in a fried egg has to be using the letter P. So let's go back to the beginning again. An egg scrambled in butter and milk has 1 more gram of protein than an egg fried in butter. So P minus 1, okay, because this one has 1 more than this, so this would be P minus 1, okay. Then they say 10 scrambled eggs have as much protein as a dozen fried eggs. Well, a dozen is 12. Write an equation to find the amount of protein in a scrambled egg. Okay, so this is the number of proteins per scrambled egg, and if I have 10 eggs, that's 10p. This is the amount of protein for a fried egg, and if I have 12 of those, I'm going to have 12p minus 12 because I distributed. And it's telling me again that these two should be equal. 10 scrambled eggs, there's 10 scrambled eggs, have as much protein as a dozen fried eggs. So I'm going to write my equation. 10p is equal to 12p minus 12. So again, I want my variables to be on the left-hand side just because that's what I prefer. And I get negative 2p, which is fine because I have a negative 12 on the other side. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 2, and p is equal to 6. So the amount of protein in a scrambled egg is 6. The amount of protein in a fried egg is 5. Okay, now try this. I've already worked it out, so I'm not going to show you. But it talks about stalks of celery and carrots. Okay, this is a situation where you're going to be adding the amount of calories in the celery plus the amount of calories in the carrot to get a total amount of calories because they tell you the total. Okay, so and we will go over that one in class afterwards.